and Pharmaceuticals in association with Higher Secondary Principals Forum.
Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Rohit Phalgaonkar. The chapter which I am going to talk about or deal with today is Bhakti and Sufi traditions. Before I begin the chapter, I would like to give you a small background of what the chapter will be all about. First, I will talk about the cultural significance of the chapter, and then we shall talk about the significance of the chapter with respect to the exam point of view. The cultural significance of the chapter is Bhakti was a period which has influenced the culture and traditions of India. It was a period where lot of changes were seen happening, or the religion through which, or the phase through which Bhakti began. Okay, you see a lot of changes happening in the religion during that particular phase. Okay, and with respect to exam point of view, this chapter carries total of 4 marks. 1 mark will be objective type or one line answer, and there will be another question of 3 marks for you for your exams. Now, going to the Bhakti traditions or Sufi traditions. What do you mean by the term Bhakti? That we need to understand first. Bhakti means to have devotion. मुझे भक्ति करब. Okay, and you find that this period, okay, the background of this period was that there was a lot of debate, there were a lot of discussions, or there was a lot of arguments with respect to religion. And during this whole era or during this whole phase, you find somewhere a line was drawn and people were brought towards devotion, people were brought towards faith by bringing in lot of traditions like singing of hymns or singing of devotional songs. Now during this phase, there was this worship of gods like Shiva and Vishnu had increased. Puranic texts were composed, they were compiled and preserved in simple Sanskrit verses. These texts were now accessible to women and to the Shudra also. The second part of this phase was Brahmins or Pandits started and accepted reworking on the various practices and ideas of other social categories. Like for example, the deity Jagannath of Puri in Odisha. You know that today he is called as a form of Vishnu. Jagannath, Jagat means the world. Nath means the king or the supreme. Okay, he is called as the form of Vishnu today. And you can see on the screen the 3 images of Jagannath, Subhadra and the co-deity. Okay, but in this case you will come to know that Jagannath, though he is a form of Vishnu, he does not hold the regular ayud or the regular identities which a Vishnu should hold. Okay, you can see on the screen Vishnu here holds a Shankha, Chakra, Gada and Padma. But I'll go back to this slide and you will see here that in these cases the Murti or the sculptures do not hold these attributes of Vishnu. This was the reason why, this was the way by which the Bhakti movement brought in various other cults, various other worships and influenced them, and that is how created a wave of devotion. Okay, Jagannath, who was a local deity, was actually made by the tribals or worshipped by the tribals by using wood. Later on, he was accepted into the cult of Vaishnavism, and this is the influence of Bhakti period. Okay, so this is one small example which I gave you of worship of Vishnu and Shiva. This is an example of Vishnu. Let us now go and check out how worship of goddesses also became a part of Bhakti. Now you have something called as a Tantric worship. Now what do you mean by Tantric worship? Tantric worship was always associated with goddesses. The Tantric form of worship was very widespread in the subcontinent during this time, and men and women could practice it. Tantric people often ignored the caste differences, and the tantric ideas influenced many more people. Like the worship of goddesses, you can see on the screen, you can see goddess Durga. Okay, she is highly revered in Bengal, or even in case of in that matter in Odisha, or even in that matter for Bihar. You also have Durga, Navadurgas being worshipped in Goa, and in most of the places, other states, you find them worshipped in different names. This was what is called as worship of goddesses, and here you find tantric worship coming into picture. Tantric ideas not only influenced a part of one particular cult, but also influenced Shaivism and Buddhism. In the long run, we come to know that all this was addressed as Hinduism. Now, what happened in this case? The main Vedic deities, I hope you know that during the Vedic period there was a different set of deities. So these main Vedic deities like Indra, Agni, Vayu, Varun, Soma, okay, all these started getting lesser importance. Now you can see on the screen, he is Indra. Okay, he is basically a Vedic deity. But you'll come to know that these deities were later on incorporated into the Purans during the Bhakti period, and he was called as the king or the warrior god. Okay, who would sit on a white elephant, who is called as Airavat, and his weapon was supposed to be the Vajra. Okay, later on the screen you also find Agni, who is seated on a ram. Okay, and all these deities started getting lesser importance during this period when goddesses or when worship of Shiva and worship of Vishnu started increasing. While Vishnu, Shiva and the other goddesses had lesser importance, we also come to know that Purans, the worship of Purans, where mythological stories of these goddesses or of Vishnu or of Shiva started getting importance. Like Purans were written wherein Durga was described to be very powerful, how she killed the demon Mahishasur, and that is how she got the name as Mahishasur Mardani. Okay, likewise you find Purans of Vishnu being written, where you find Vishnu is supposed to have taken 10 avatars. Okay, Dasha avatar he is called, and 24 forms, 24 roop. Okay, and in these each avatar he is described of how he has saved the earth from destruction. Likewise we have Purans of Shiva, which is called as Shiva Mahapuran also, wherein you have the mythological stories of Shiva being told. But let us all remember one thing, though this was happening, the original Ved, okay, the 4 Veds, don't feel that they were undermined. Don't think that they got less importance. They were still continued to be revered and were worshipped by the people. So what is the Bhakti period, or what is the what happened during the Bhakti movement is that all these worships started coming in, okay, and now also they also brought in all these Vedic deities, and you find a new particular kind of cult, a new particular kind of form of worship being encouraged during the movement. Now going ahead, we find that there were some conflicts also. There were conflicts between those who highly valued the Vedic tradition and those who chanted the mantra. Like for example, the Tantric worshippers did not accept the authorities of the Ved. They said that the devotees projected their chosen deity like Vishnu, Shiva as supreme. And now there were conflicts with regards to relation between Jainism and Buddhism also. So here what happens is, those who said no, the Veds are supposed to be supreme most and you cannot have anything above them. So there was an issue there, where there was one group who said no, the Veds are to be highly revered, and there was yet another group who said that no, they were not. Like the Tantric worshippers, those who encourage worship of goddesses, they said no, the Veds are important but not that important. So here there was a slight difference between the viewpoints of various people who got into these worships. Okay, there were also conflicts between, or there were some kind of discussions between Jainism and Buddhism also. Here to this point, to solve these conflicts, you find devotion or bhakti coming in to their help. Devotion or bhakti included routine worships of deities within the temples to emotional adoration where devotees even underwent trance. Singing and chanting of devotional songs became an integral part of bhakti. What does it mean? That you find people, immersing themselves. Okay, आम्ही कोकणीत म्हणता बुडून वतात. Okay, in this routine worship, in the routine worship of these deities, people became highly emotional. Adoration was not only restricted to temples now, but adoration was also coming in the houses. The bhakti period emphasized that everybody could find God. Okay, God was there everywhere. We all know the way the saints of Maharashtra promoted Pandurang or Vitthal. Okay, Vitthal Rakumai. Okay, likewise we find singing and devotional songs were being encouraged and they became a part of bhakti. Like going on a wari. Okay, we all know that during the Hindu month of Ashad, we find that most of the Hindus, they go on a wari, that is a pilgrimage on foot to Pandharpur. What was it? That was actually the result of the bhakti period. Okay, so devotion was not restricted to a certain place, devotion was not restricted to a certain book, devotion was not restricted to a certain temple, but now during this period, people could adore, people could sing songs, people could write, compose devotional songs, and that was bhakti. So here you have a picture on the screen of how bhakti movement got into, the whole, brought people around it. Okay, people went into a trance. Now trance does not mean that you lose your head and you go you act in a very different way, in a weird way. Here trance means that you get immersed in devotion to so much that you forget that you are a person, you belong to this world, you connect yourself to God. That is the meaning of trance here. Okay, so the bhakti movement created a lot of we can use the word revolution, in the field of religion. Now, according to the historians, okay, bhakti is classified into two parts. One, you call it sagun worship, okay, and the other one is nirgun worship. Now, what do you mean by sagun? Sagun. Sagun means with attributes. Nirgun, nira means it's not there, absent. Guna means properties, without attributes. So when you are a human being, we can call ourselves as sagun. You can see me, you can see my hands, you can see the way I'm talking. I have got a special character, I have got a special property, I look like this, I have special features, okay, which can describe me. So tomorrow if you want to describe me, you have to describe my features. That is sagun. Okay. What is nirgun? Abstract. I can't see anybody, but still I know he is existing. Okay. आम्ही म्हणतात नी कोकणीन देव आसा पूण तो दिश्टी पडना. That is nirgun. Okay. So these two types of worships were encouraged in bhakti. You could have a person, you could imagine God. That was also accepted. And one group said, no, God is not there, we can't see them, and he also could imagine God. So sagun and nirgun became a part of bhakti. Sagun worship was including Shiva worship, Vishnu worship, worship of various devis or durgas we can say, and worship of murtis. Like we can say, such kinds of sculptures were being brought out or made to indicate who is Vishnu, how he might have looked like, who is the Devi, who is Lakshmi. Okay, here you have Shiva, who was imagined in this way, that he sits on Mount Kailash, he holds a Trishul in his hand, he holds a Damru in his hand. So this was the way Shiva was imagined or Shiva was described. Now you find Nirgun form of worship, which means that God is abstract, you can't see him, and that is the reason why you can't describe him. But yet he exists. Okay, it was not Nastik. It was not. It was not promoting don't believe in God. They promoted belief in you believe in God. But how? By imagining him, by believing that he exists. Okay, they said that God need not hold a shank, God need not hold a trishul, God need not hold a damru. Okay, God exists, but he is there, but you can't see him. So this was nirgun form of worship, and here you find saints like you can see on the screen, Surdas, or you find people from various states, okay, like Rajasthan, Gujarat, who promoted or who propagated the existence of God through their devotional songs. Bhakti Gite, okay, they sang about God, they communicated to the people that God exists, Bhagwan ka astitva, okay, they spoke about astitva of God, but yet they said you need not have a murti, you need not imagine that he should hold this, or he should look like this, but he exists. So this is Sagun and Nirgun form of worships which were promoted by Bhakti. The next is a very important topic which I am going to talk to you about, and it originated in South India. Okay, you have to listen to my pronunciations because the pronunciations hold lot of importance. The slide shows the title as Alavar and Nayanmar. Okay, listen to the pronunciations Alavar and Nayanmar. Though the textbooks write Nayanar, it is supposed to be pronounced as Nayanmar. Okay, now Alavars are worshippers of Vishnu, and Alavars are those who were immersed in the devotion of Vishnu. Now how will you remember this? I'll give you a clue to the end of this slide. Here you have murtis or sculptures of Vaishnavite saints who believe that Vishnu is the soul, is a supreme being. There is nobody else above Vishnu. And these are all sculptures from temples of South India. You will see that they sport a horizontal mark on their forehead. That is the symbol of Vishnu. And in South India, there are 4 Alavars, okay, main ones. That's not there for in the topic, so I will not go into the details of it. But these are still worshipped and revered highly in South India today. Okay, so these are Alavar saints who worshipped Vishnu. Next you have the Nayanmars. Now Nayanmars were worshippers of Shiva. And how will you identify Nayanmars? By the horizontal mark on their forehead, and the Alavars by the vertical mark on their forehead. Okay, so Nayanmars were worshippers of Shiva. How will you remember these things? Because they are South Indian terms and terminologies. Alavar is Vishnu or Nayanmar is Shiva. We get confused a lot of time. So A stands for Alavar. Okay, Alavar, Vishnu. V stands for Vishnu. You have to remember AV, audio visual. Okay, AV hall. Once you remember AV, you will remember Alavar is for Vishnu. They were Vaishnavite saints, and the other one we all know. If A for V, then definitely S is for N. Shiva is for Nayanmars. Okay. Now what did these saints do? They also tried to create reforms in the society. They traveled from one place to the other singing hymns, but in Tamil. During their travels, they chose lot of places, shrines, where they made themselves or they called themselves as homes of their deities. Okay, and these developed into pilgrimage centers later on. If you go to Tamil Nadu, especially this movement happened in Tamil Nadu. If you go to Tamil Nadu even today, you will find lot of pilgrimage sites where these Alavars and Nayanmars had set up, and now today they have become pilgrimage sites, just like we have Kashi or Varanasi and so on and so forth. Okay, these people tried to bring a lot of reforms in the society. First and foremost, they tried to reform the caste system. Some suggest that these saints began a movement against the caste systems, and the Brahmins tried to reform them. Their bhakts included all types of people Like there were Brahmins, there were artisans, there were farmers, and there were untouchables also. But their compositions were considered as or nearly equivalent to Ved. Okay, like for example, there is a composition which is written by the Alavars. Okay, it is there in your textbook, and the name is flashed on the screen. It is, the name of the composition is Nalayira Divya Prabandhanam. What does Nalayira mean? Nala means 4 in Tamil. Ira means 1000. 4000 verses or 4000 songs of Vishnu. Okay, today it is called as Tamil Ved. Okay, so this Nalayira Divya Prabandhanam was written by the Alavar saints to promote the devotion of Vishnu, and devotion of Vishnu not only was restricted to a certain community but also now started spreading to all the parts of the society. Apart from this, they also had women devotees. Like for example, you have Andal. Okay, here you can see the name on the screen. You have Andal, who was an Alavar woman, and she called herself as the devotee of Vishnu. Okay, and here you can see on the screen there's a painting which shows a lady devotee, okay, approaching another devotee, and you can see a temple nearby, which shows that these saints made their houses, okay, in the temple. Houses mean not a house, but they lived in certain temples and called themselves, and those became pilgrimage centers later on. Okay. Later on, you also have another lady saint who was called as Karraikal Ammayar. Okay, she also got immersed in the devotion of Shiva. Now, we spoke about how the Bhakti movement began. We spoke about how it tried to reform the society. We spoke about the importance of the Bhakti movement. We spoke about how Bhakti movement influenced South India. Coming from Tamil Nadu, let us come to another state of South India, which is Karnataka. And Bhakti movement also was a part of this state also became a part of the Bhakti movement. Now, in the court of the Chalukyan king, there was a minister by name Basavanna. This was in the 12th century. Actually, he was a Jain initially. And later on, Basavanna started a new kind of worship, which was called as Veerashaivism or Lingayats. Veerashaivism means heroes of Shiva. Veera, hero. Shaivism is Shiva. Okay. Or Lingayat means wearer of the Shivling. That means the followers of Basavanna would wear a Shivling around their neck or on their body. So this Shivling which was there was encased in a small silver case in a loop which was strung over on their left shoulder. If you see most of the Lingayats, I do not know whether you all have noticed it, but if you go to Karnataka, you will find such kinds of arrangement which is worn on their body, and this is a silver case. In that silver case, when you open the silver case, there will be a small Shivling inside, which you can see on the screen. This Shivling is there, it is a representation of the Shivling, and this is worn around the neck to depict their devotion for Shiva. Here you can see pictures of two ladies who are wearing that Shivling around their neck. So these are called as Lingayats. Now, there are also people who went from one place to the other talking about Shiva, encouraging the worship or promoting worship of Shiva, and they were called as Jangama or wandering monks. So here on the screen again you find how Jangams went from one place to the other talking about Shiva. Now what they believed, these people had their own belief. What was their belief? That when a person dies, okay, when a person leaves the body, his soul unites with Shiva. Okay, and after it unites with Shiva, it will not come back to the world. Hence, they felt that they should not cremate the dead. Okay, they believed that once you cremate the dead, the soul does not unite with Shiva, and that is the reason why they encouraged burials. So today also Veerashaiv they encouraged burials. Now apart from this, Veerashaiva also tried to bring in a lot of changes in the society. Okay, like they discouraged pre-puberty marriages, or they discouraged caste system. So all these things were brought in by the Veerashaiva. Apart from this, you have two more saints which you need to study for the topic. Okay, and they are the saints who are of the Bhakti period, who encouraged Bhakti. And these saints, one of them, like the name which is flashing on the screen, Kabir, is also there for you in the Hindi curriculum, I think. There's a poem on Kabir and it is called as Doha. So you'll be able to study that poem much in a much better way if you know the background of Kabir. Now Kabir and all these saints, even for that matter you know about Gautam Buddha or Mahavir Jain, all these people who tried to bring in reforms in the society did not say, okay, now I'm going to try to bring a reform in the society. You sit here and start writing about me, or you sit here and start writing the songs or the compositions of what I'm singing or saying. No, they did not do that. All their life history, all their compositions, all their devotions, devotional songs, all their principles were written after their death. The same has happened in case of Buddha, the same in case of Kabir also. We get information about Kabir through his hagiographies. Okay, and here you find a picture of Kabir, of an artist impression probably. And how do we know? What are the various sources which speak to us about Kabir's life? One is hagiographies, their life history or the biography. Now biographies, you know, it can have a lot of it can have they can be perfectly written well, or they can have some personal touches added to it by the authors. Okay, then you have Kabir Bijak, which is preserved by the Kabir Panth in Varanasi. You can see on the screen Kabir Bijak, a picture of Kabir Bijak. Okay, this also gives us information about Kabir. Then you find Kabir Granthavali, which is associated with Dadu Panth. There is a there is a religious organization or a spiritual organization which follows Kabir, and that is called as Dadu Pantha in Rajasthan. And here you have Kabir Granthavali, a picture. It is not what Kabir has written now, it is not in his handwriting, but this was all written later on and then compiled. Okay, they are also called as Doha. Later on you also have some more compositions which are found in the Adi Granth Sahib of the Sikhs. All these compositions were made after his death. His poems are in a special language of Nirgun sect. Now Kabir is a saint of Nirgun sect. Means he did not use a murti or a sculpture for adoration. He used abstract form of God for worship. So in that Nirgun sect, that language in which those dohas are written, they are called as Santa Bhasha. And Ulat Bansis are his specialities, or upside down saying. That means you want to say something, but you don't tell it directly, you tell it in a different manner which will go to him, by which he will be convinced. You also find Kabir trying to draw or to describe the ultimate reality. Okay, ultimate reality is God. Okay, ultimate means nothing beyond it, and he says he is real. There is something which is existing. Now he used both the religions. He used the concept from Islam and he used a concept from Hinduism. From Islam, he described the ultimate reality and called him as Allah, called him as Khuda, Hazrat and the Peer. So these are the terms he has used for his devotional songs from Islam. Okay, and that is why Kabir's Doha or Kabir's composition addresses or uses this kind of words. From the Vedantic tradition, that is the traditions which are followed by the Hindus, he uses terms like alak. Alak means unseen. Okay, alak means unseen, you can't see it. म्हणजे आम्ही कोंकणीन तो शब्द वापरतात न्ही, लखलखता म्हणजे ते पळोवपाक जायना. So alak means something which is unseen, you can't see him. Nirakar, formless. Brahman, Atma. Now here the word Brahman does not refer to a community. Here the word Brahman refers to a soul. Okay, so these were used. So that is how you find in Kabir's compositions, you find terms from Islam and terms from Hinduism or Vedantic traditions being used. Some of his poems use Islamic ideas of monotheism. Now, in case of Islam, they believe in Allah, that is monotheism, one God. Okay, and iconoclast to attack Hindu polytheism or idol worship. Okay, so what he did is he used that concept. He says God is one, there is only one God. You don't have worship, you don't have Shiva, Vishnu and Durga and all that. You have something called as the ultimate reality and he is one. So this concept he drew from Islam. Okay, and that is how he tried to convince the others that see, God is one, okay, and he is the ultimate reality. Now, apart from this, there was yet one more saint which you have to study. He was also of the Nirgun sect and he is called as Baba Guru Nanak. Okay, now I am just giving you a brief, a background of Baba Guru Nanak. It is not there for you for assessment, but before you learn about somebody, you should know what is his background. Okay, so basically he was a Hindu who was born in a merchant family in Nankana Sahib near the river Ravi, which is in Pakistan today. Okay, he was an accountant and he had learned Persian. He was married at a very young age and had spent times with Sufis and Bhakts also. This is there for you in the syllabus. He advocated Nirgun form of Bhakti, that is no abstract form of God. So here you have a picture or a painting where Baba Guru Nanak goes to various places, various villages in the area, and he is trying to bring in people from all the fold. So here you have a painting which shows there is a carpenter, okay, and he is trying to inculcate or he is trying to propagate bhakti in all the folds of the society. He rejected ritual baths, image worship and scriptures of Hindus and Muslims both. So there is no need of you going and having a bath every time, or there is no need of you going and having a murti in front of, keeping a murti in front of you every time, keeping a sculpture in front of you every time. Okay, and he said these scriptures of whatever Hindus and the Muslims, there is no need to follow them very strictly. What you need to have is devotion in God. And here you have a picture of Baba Guru Nanak. Okay, so Baba Guru Nanak also called God as absolute. Kabir called him as ultimate reality. He calls him as absolute, or the parallel word is Rab. Rab means there is nobody above him. Okay, and this word is now being used widely in Bollywood songs. Okay, but actually this word was coined by Baba Guru Nanak. And he said, Rab does not have gender. Rab cannot be male. Rab cannot be a female. And he said that to connect to God, we should keep repeating the divine name. Okay, आम्ही जे नामस्मरण करतात नी, okay, नामस्मरण, that was encouraged by Baba Guru Nanak. His hymns were called as Shabad and they were sang in different rags. Okay, classical notes were used to sing those songs, and he had an attendant by name Mardana who played the rabab as he sang. Okay, so here you have a picture of Baba Guru Nanak sitting under a tree, and you have the attendant Mardana who is playing the rabab as he sang. Now he set up a group or a congregation for worship which was called as Sangat. So on the screen again you see Baba Guru Nanak sitting under a tree, and people from different sections of the society come and are immersed in the devotion, and they come to listen to him. So this is all about bhakti. Now you have a small topic on Sufism. Though the chapter says bhakti and Sufi, there is the topic on Sufism is very limited. So I'll just go through it very quickly. What is Sufism? Basically the word Sufi is said to have come from the word Safa, okay, or Safa. Safa means pure. Okay, so in the early centuries of Islam, there were a group of religious minded people who called themselves as pure or Sufis, and they turned to asceticism and mysticism. What do you mean by asceticism? Asceticism is giving up everything. Okay, आम्ही हांगा ताका इंडियेक संन्यास म्हणटात. Okay, संन्यास घेवप म्हणजे सगळें सोडप. Okay, so asceticism and mysticism. This was in protest against the growing materialism of the caliphate as a religious and a political organization. So you know that there was somebody called as a Khalifa, and this we have learnt in the chapter which we in the 11th standard, the Caliphs. Okay. Now in the Caliphate, that organization, these people were attracted or got connected to materialism, collecting lot of wealth. Now the Sufis were exactly trying to protest against this, and they were critical of the dogmatic definitions and scholastic methods of interpreting the Quran and Sunnah adopted by the theologians. What does it mean? That these people were now against, okay, the ritualistic or the framed way in which the Quran had to be interpreted, or in which the Quran had to be read, or where the Quran had to be read. So all these dogmatic definitions they rejected, and they laid emphasis on seeking salvation through intense devotion and love for God and His commands, and following the example of Prophet Muhammad. So here again, what happened in India was similar thing was happening in those countries in Islam also, where now they said, no, your devotion, your faith is more important rather than materialism, or rather than having a dogmatic dogmatic following of religion. This is all you have in the chapter of Bhakti and Sufi. Because the weightage of the marks is less, whatever I have dealt with now, okay, that will be incorporated, or that is included for assessment. Thank you very much.
Prudent Scholars, powered by Lupin Pharmaceuticals.